Hey guys, it's Goosebumps Completionist, and today I'm bringing you a episode review from the classic Goosebumps TV show from the 90s. It's from season 1, and since it doesn't have a home media release here in America, I'm going to put a picture right here. It's the Cuckoo Clock of Doom. Now, as you may see, the VHS is not a real VHS. It's a prop replica thing that I found on the internet that I thought looked pretty interesting, and I went ahead and ordered me one because there's nothing physical to have for Cuckoo Clock here, so I thought might as well have it for my bookshelf. So, yeah, the Cuckoo Clock of Doom episode. I said a long time ago, way back on my channel, when I reviewed the Cuckoo Clock of Doom book, that I said I don't really need to review the episode, but I decided to go ahead and catch up and play catch up on the books that I've done that have episodes that I haven't touched on. And this was one, so I thought might as well go ahead and do it. The episode is directed by John Bell and was written by Dan Angel and Billy Brown. And honestly, this isn't one of the greatest episodes there is. There are a lot of really cool hidden moments in this episode that I really enjoy on a big level. Like, there's a couple scenes I'll touch on in the plot of review that I really loved. But for the most part, this episode is quite memorable. It's not, like I said, not the greatest. It's pretty good. Pretty much very good. Do I think it's as good as the book? Well, I'll save that for the book versus episode. But yeah, it's pretty solid. If you have not watched this episode, I definitely recommend it. It is really good. Alright, so let's get into the plot overview without giving too much away. So in this version of Cuckoo Clock of Doom, it is a bit different from the book. The story starts out, instead of starting out in the book where it starts with the dad bringing home the cuckoo clock, in the episode it starts off with Michael walking down the street with his Walkman bouncing his basketball, and he knocks his basketball over into the woods. And this is where he starts to notice some blood. And blood in a Goosebumps episode, yes, there's blood. Well, as you'll see, fake blood. Well, he notices this trail of blood and he follows it into the woods and he pushes back some leaves and a bloody monster jumps out at him and it scares him and he falls back, and it's revealed to be his sister and her friends playing a prank on him, and they call him a credge, which is jerk spelled backwards, and I don't get that joke at all, but it's there. Call him a credge, and Michael realizes that it was ketchup and a prank, and he's like, I'm gonna get you because she squirted ketchup all over him. Which is rightfully so. You know, being an older sibling to a younger sister, my younger sister would do stuff like that to me. Maybe not to that extent, but she would definitely try to push my buttons because I was the older brother, she was the younger sister, and she would pull that card. So I could totally relate to Michael here. So Michael chases her to the house, and she's, comforted by her mom, and Michael tries to squirt her with ketchup and gets it all over the door. And Michael's scolded to essentially clean up the door. Now, the sister taunts Michael and says, this isn't at least I got you better at your birthday party. And it kind of flashbacks, or maybe fast forwards. I think it's a flashback. I'm pretty certain it's a flashback. But it flashbacks into Michael's 12th birthday, where he gets a CD from this girl, and he says, oh, nice, I don't have this one. And Tara embarrasses him in front of his crush, and all the kids laugh. And Michael is really angry, and he goes to help his mom get his cake to bring it in for his guests. And of course, Tara comes out and trips him, and he gets cake all over his face. And so you really get a sense of how evil this little girl is. Like, she's just so maniacal. She's using fake blood. This version of Tara feels a little more, I guess, darker than the book in a couple of ways. But this Tara, essentially the same as the book, really don't like this little girl. So Michael is humiliated at his birthday party, and then it cuts back to present day, and his father brings home this massive cuckoo clock. Now, the cuckoo clock isn't as fleshed out as the book was, but the cuckoo clock's brought into Michael's house, and the kids are admiring it with their father, and the father explicitly tells them not to mess with the cuckoo clock, and immediately Michael tries to touch it and he gets scolded, and same thing with Tara. And Michael's like, oh great, well, now we can't mess with this cool thing. And he goes up to his bed and, tries to, get over what happened to him earlier with Tara, I guess. And then later that night, he hears Tara get scolded by her the father, for touching the cuckoo clock. And Michael gets this idea to sabotage Tara. So it says in the episode 11:59. I don't know if that's right, but before midnight, Michael gets up and he tries to sneak downstairs, and there's a fake out with a doll. He squeaks. And then he gets into the den, and there's another fake out with a window and stuff like that. And then it kind of boils over into the cuckoo clock finally striking midnight, and the cuckoo pops out, and Michael takes the head and twists it like the book. Michael goes back to bed thinking he got the edge, and he wakes up, and it's his 12th birthday all over again. He's like, what's going on? This has to be a prank. And his family's like, no, it's your 12th birthday. And Michael's like, I think I'm stuck in a time stream, and all these events keep replaying as they did a few days prior. And, he gets humiliated by the CD again. There's a little bit of a difference in how the cake part plays out, where he gets a cake on his face, but essentially it's the same. He tries to convince his parents he's in a time warp. They don't believe him. And then it cuts to a dream sequence where Michael's being taunted by this cuckoo clock following him down this massive hallway. And at the end, the cuckoo pops out and it's Tara's face, and he wakes up screaming, which cuts to his mom coming into the room, checking on him. And then now Michael's 6 years old. So it seems that time is reverting backwards at a rapid pace. And Michael discovers that he's 6. And 6-year-old Michael's really fun in this part of the episode. This is probably one of my favorite parts of the entire episode. 6-year-old Michael's great. He tries to go downstairs to see where the cuckoo clock is after he says, where's Tara? And his parents are like, who's Tara? So Tara's been, she's not born yet. So Tara's not around. And Michael realizes the gravity of the situation. He goes to try to find the cuckoo clock, and he calls himself an idiot, and parents think he's calling his dad an idiot, but he's like, oh, the cuckoo clock's not going to be bought for another 6 years, and he has to relive his 6th birthday party now. And at his birthday, this clown is like trying to like blow up this balloon to him, and he takes a fork and pops it. It's so funny. And he tells the kids they can have all of his presents if they don't tell his parents where he's planning to go. And Michael heads downtown, and he has this really eerie interaction with this guy in a trench coat. Like, very creepy. I believe IMDb calls him Scary Man or something. I think that's hilarious. But the Scary Man seems like he might be following Michael to the antique store where his father bought the cuckoo clock. And the cuckoo clock's there in the window. But the problem is that the store's closed because the guy's on vacation. And then Michael gets surprised by his father and scolds him. His father's really angry with him and has to take him home. And then Michael is being read to his father before he goes to bed, and Michael refuses to go to sleep, and he says, it's pretty depressing at this point. He's like, well, I'm going to be gone out of existence. You guys just don't worry about me. Don't be making a fuss over me. I'm just afraid to go to sleep because I'm not going to exist anymore. And his parents think that something might be wrong, but they give up and tell Michael to get some shut-eye, and Michael reluctantly falls asleep. And then it cuts to the final part where Michael is now a infant, toddler age. Not quite like the book. I think the book has an extra step in there. But in the episode, let's just say he's an infant, but he's not really an infant here. the kid has a full row of teeth. So, yeah, he wakes up with a dirty diaper. And there's a really funny joke. I don't want to spoil it. There's a really, really funny joke from the mom and dad in this scene where he's staring up from the crib, and they're contemplating on going to the antique store, and Michael starts cooing and like in a positive way to try to get them say, yeah, I'm in a good mood, let's go to the antique store. So they go to the antique store where the cuckoo clock is, and Michael sees it and has to break out of his booster seat and makes his way to the cuckoo clock right before it's about to chime on the hour, and he climbs up and he's about to turn it, and he accidentally kicks something which knocks a piece off the cuckoo clock, but he's able to grab the head and turn it before his parents are about to get him. And then time immediately jumps back to the present, and Michael's 12 years old again, And it's around a day or two after his father had gotten the cuckoo clock. And his father's scolding him for touching the cuckoo clock. And he's like, Dad, I'm so happy to see you. And he's like, great. And he's like, okay, where's Tara? And they're like, who's Tara? So obviously I'm giving this part away, but Tara's still not there. And they can't figure out why. But then it's revealed why. And then it's also revealed what Michael plans to do. And that's where the episode ends. So that, in a nutshell, is the Cuckoo Clock of Doom episode. For starters, the episode has a good amount of positives for me. The positives stem down to the directing from the director. I think he did a great job. No offense to Dan Angel and Billy Brown here, but I think they got the story a little bit backwards from the book. Honestly, I think the plot set up in the book's a little bit better. It's a little more, it feels more organic, and the episode just kicks you off with the blood scene. Like, the blood scene was great, but it just really convoluted the whole story. like, it should have been like the dad brings home the cuckoo clock, right? Then Tara scares Michael, which triggers a flashback. I like that setup. I don't see why they couldn't just do that, but it is what it is. Maybe at the time they created this episode or got the script for it, maybe the book wasn't out yet. I don't know. But for the most part, it was pretty solid to the book. The blood in the beginning of the episode was great. The actor who played Michael also plays Steve later on in The Haunted Mask 2. He was great actor. The little girl who played Tara was really good. I think her voice sounds really familiar. Maybe Maggie from Maggie and the Ferocious Beast. I haven't even looked this up, or maybe I did and I'm just now remembering it. But she sounds very familiar. I think she's been in some kid shows. She was great as Tara. The parents were elevated a little bit. For the budget, it got some pretty iconic scenes from the book down pretty good. And the cuckoo clock looked really cool. Like, it's not the same cuckoo clock as the book, but the cuckoo clock worked. The bird was really creepy looking. The ending is more so the same. It's pretty faithful, kind of. So, yeah, it was a pretty solid episode. But I do have some negatives, and that's like comparing it to the book kind of thing, where I think the book got it right. I think the episode just kind of made it confusing in the beginning. I really can't tell if that's a flashback or fast forward. And the TV book definitely doesn't help, but that's a whole different topic. It gets really muddled. Even with that great scene with the blood, and Michael being 6, being great, and all this added like jokes and stuff, it just felt a little jumbled in the beginning. And then the end of the episode is also where I have a point of contention. I liked how in the book it went back to his birthday party before he gets to see the cuckoo clock. Like, it's a few days before his dad brings home the cuckoo clock in the book, so he gets to relive his birthday party and have a good birthday. And then he gets the cuckoo clock and tries to figure out why Tara isn't around. In the episode, it just cuts all that out. It also cuts a lot of context about the cuckoo clock, which I think the book had more of, and that's also another negative I have. The cuckoo clock context, although not the greatest, and one of my biggest drawbacks with the book itself, is that there's no really defined origin for the cuckoo clock. There's just kind of a mention of it. But the cuckoo clock had a lot of unresolvedness for me by the end. And in the episode, it completely cuts out a lot of that context, and the cuckoo clock is just there to facilitate the story. It's not really anything special. It's not treated as anything special. It just has this little, if you misuse the magic, right? And I just prefer the way the book set that up, and the episode just, it didn't have that same impact as the book did. As a matter of fact, as a whole of an episode, I feel like it's just missing the overall heart the book had, if that makes any sense. And it felt kind of empty. So yeah, I did have some issues with the episode, but they're all like little mini things adding up. They're not like big 0.5s, like a full point or anything. These are like 0.2 deductions here and there. But I did have quite a fair share of issues. So when it came to from a 0 to 5 stars, I wanted to give this episode an A. I just couldn't. I think it's a B tier episode. And where I settled with this episode, I gave it about a 4.2 out of 5. I deducted 0.8 off for all those little things added up. It's trying to do what it can for the story, but at the same time it takes away some stuff that the book had. Now it does have some added humor. It has that bloody scene in the beginning. It really helps it from tanking it down to average. I definitely think out of the earlier episodes from season 1 is definitely one of the least wonky of the episodes as far as the single non-two-parter episodes go. So for that, in that regard, I think it's one of the better ones from season 1. But yeah, it's pretty solid. Very good, above average episode. So yeah, that's my review of the Cuckoo Clock of Doom episode. Let me know down in the comment section if you have watched this episode before. Did you love this or did you hate this? I'm dying to know, and I'll see you next time.